What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on high altitude investing. In today's video, I am going to be talking about timing Bitcoin cycles, how to ensure that you get out at the best zones with the best profits. I'll be talking a little bit about my personal strategy, why I am avoiding cycle theory as far as taking my profits based on exact time zones, and how I'm personally getting my targets. A lot of really awesome stuff in today's video. Also, this is extremely requested information, you guys. I have no idea how many times people have asked me, is the Bitcoin market going to top out in December or January? So this is a very, very important video. If you guys are not a subscriber to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as sharing these videos with your friends. I genuinely appreciate everybody that does that, and anybody that comments is highly appreciated as well. So without further ado, let's get straight into the Bitcoin analysis. So in today's video, I am sharing with you guys a little bit about how I'm personally coming to my profit-taking zones on the crypto markets, and why I'm personally using this strategy as opposed to some of the other strategies for trading and timing the markets. I also want to just make a quick disclaimer now that I'm not knocking anybody's strategies, whatever you're personally using to trade the markets. I think that it's very important that we all have our own trading plans and do our own research based on what we're seeing in the markets in order to trade the markets. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what I'm personally doing to time these markets. So one big question that I have is whether the top is going to come in December. And one of the best ways that you can ensure profits when trading the crypto markets is to do something called back testing. So what you do is you have a strategy or theory in mind, and you actually go back in the previous cycles and test to see if this theory actually works out for you. And so by back testing, you can actually figure out whether your trading strategy is going to be effective as the market continues. It's not perfect, but it is the most important thing that you can do with your trading strategy to ensure that it's actually the correct strategy and to make sure that you're using something that's going to cause profit in your accounts. So because of that, just back testing the whole theory of it topping out exactly in December, we find some serious problems with that theory in and of itself. There's a couple theories that are very common. Like I said, I am not knocking any strategy that you guys are using in order to trade the markets. But I will say that the idea that Bitcoin tops out every single time in January just is not true. The Bitcoin cycle of the very first Bitcoin bull market actually topped out in May and then bottomed out in November. And then we had another market cycle that came afterwards. And this market cycle topped out in April and bottomed out in exactly the same month, actually. This market cycle, this first one right here, was about 2 years, about a year and a half in length. The second market cycle right here was about a year and a half, 2 years in length as well. Now, what's interesting is you can see these first two cycles were a year and a half, roughly almost 2 years in time. This cycle happened between 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. This is absolutely a bigger cycle. It did top out in December, but this is now the first example of a cycle that's topping out in December. We now see another example, yes, of a market cycle that does top out in December, but we actually have a 50-50% split between market cycles that are topping out in completely different months and market cycles that are topping out in December. So it's certainly not 100% of the time. And the previous cycles before the recent cycles were also quite a bit shorter in length. The reason I'm using Fibonacci targets is because it's repeatable. In every single market cycle, whether the market cycle is 1.5 years, whether the market cycle is 4 years, 3 years, however long the cycle is, the extensions are reached. And so this helps me use price targets and price levels. Now, whether it takes 1 month, 3 months, 6 months to reach that price target becomes a lot less important, as the fact that I'm buying after an 80% correction and selling at Fibonacci levels that I know for a fact are going to be reached. I'm not going to get into a ton of details of exactly what levels I'm using. That is part of my personal trading plan that I do actually use in the VIP and stuff. But I will just show you, by measuring the low and the high and the bottom of the cycle, you can get repeatable targets for every single cycle. And you'll see how the price goes up to those levels and then reverses, sees a bear market afterwards. And it's actually repeatable. It happens not 50% of the time, but it happens 100% of the time. These Fibonacci levels and these price targets, for me personally, are far more effective as a way to consistently take profits buying cheap and selling high than basing it purely off timing. The last correction and recoveries happened in 56 days, 35 days, 238 days for this one correction inside of this bull market. So I have Dogecoin on the top and I have Monero on the bottom here. And as you guys can see, Dogecoin did its first impulse and retracement, basically its first market cycle in a new bigger market cycle that's forming. And this is exactly what Monero did back in 2016. This was one of the very first trades that I made that was an altcoin where I was in profit. So this pattern I've seen, and when it does its first impulse that starts a new market cycle, it doesn't top out in a month or two afterwards. It starts a big bull market. You can see Monero continually saw higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs and higher lows before it finally did actually top out. So there was a lot of bull market, a lot of upside price action, a ton actually, not just a single month worth of time before the market topped out. Just this example alone shows that there can be 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, even longer left in the bull market. I'm not going to try to tell you guys exact time zones. As you guys can see, the timing of the market is far more variant than each cycle being exactly the same. However, the fractals and the Fibonacci ratios are pretty much identical. There's always subtle variations in the fractals as far as what happens in between point A and point B. But where point A is and where point B stops is very consistent and very tradable and very repeatable. So I do personally think that this cycle is bigger, is longer. I'm not going to try to tell you exactly how long the cycle will be, but you will see me making videos talking a little bit about how the cycle is overextended when we get there. Right now, we're extremely undervalued still. We haven't even gone to, Bitcoin hasn't even, in my opinion, by measuring the cycles, by comparing fractals and everything I've learned about trading, Bitcoin is not in the overvalued phase yet. It's still starting to get to its true valuation, which is probably about $100,000. And then it will go into its overvaluation phase. Then we'll see a correction that should bring it down back to its true valuation. And so I personally think it will take longer than only 1 month to get there. Like I said, though, you guys, whatever strategy you guys are going to use, I have nothing against what strategies you guys are using to profit in the markets, but I'm personally back testing these markets and using Fibonacci levels. So thank you guys so much for tuning into today's video on the cycles. You know, there's a really, really good opportunity to be buying the markets right now with everything being so undervalued and so early. As far as the opportunity being this good, yes, it will not be this good in the future. But as far as this cycle being topped out in the next month or two, I personally think there's quite a bit left to the cycle. Not going to say exactly how long, whether it's 6 months, whether it's a year. That's not what I'm going to get into, but I do have price levels that I'm watching, and you guys will see as we start to get to those price levels how I'll be a little bit more concerned about overvaluation. But right now, we're still extremely undervalued on a lot of projects, and very few projects are at their true valuation, let alone overvaluation. But yeah, you guys, a lot of good stuff coming in the markets, a ton of money to be made in the markets themselves. Super, super excited about future price action. The sky truly is the limit with a lot of these setups, and you have only started to see the green and the profit inside of your accounts. A lot of altcoins haven't even recovered from their summer corrections like Bitcoin has. So that just gives you an idea of what's coming. There's a huge recovery in a lot of these coins that haven't even started yet. Not only a recovery, but a break above the all-time highs and continuation of the uptrend. So thanks again for tuning into today's video, you guys. Go ahead and join the Discord. The links are in the description below. It's completely free for you guys to join in the free areas in the Discord. And like I said, you guys, the VIP is closed off to the public right now, but you guys can always reach out to me via email. And that mastermind program is also starting very soon. The website's basically ready. I've been saving your emails. So if you got an email from me and haven't gotten an email back about the mastermind program, stay tuned for that because that will be opening up very soon and you'll get details on how to join that. So yeah, you guys get ready to make a bunch of money on a super profitable market cycle, and definitely do not be selling too early. As always, stay profitable out there.